Hey, how's it going today? Well, we got another lousy weather day. That's right. Yesterday we had pouring rain. The day before that it was beautiful conditions, sunny, warm, a light wind, great day to go fishing. And today we have, of course, snow. That's right. It's Canada. It's still that time of year. It's the only country in the world where you can get heat stroke one day and frostbite the next. It is melting because the sun's coming out, but still, we got about 3 centimeters of it last night, so yeah. So I'm a little depressed, a little bit bored. So I thought I'd do another video because I did make a promise to somebody 2 years ago that I would do a video on a spinning reel drag system. And I never got around to doing it, so I'm going to do it now, so please bear with me. Now, as you know, if you've been watching my channel, my how-to videos are geared towards the beginner. I target the beginner audience. So I'm going to try and keep it basic, alright? So you pros out there that watch, if you want to add some things down in the comments, please do to help these guys out. Remember, be nice, because if you're not, you won't see your comments, alright? I'm not going to tolerate any rudeness here. But if you've got something you'd like to add that could help these people, great. So let's take a look here. I've got my reel here on my ice fishing rod just so I can demonstrate to you. Now, basically the drag system is the tension that is applied to the line that comes off the reel. You can increase it and decrease it depending on what you're doing, how big the fish is and how much it's fighting, how much weight you're pulling in, whatever. Spinning reels must have a drag system, otherwise they will not work. All right, so you control how much resistance for the drag simply by turning this screw here that's on the cap. All right, you turn it right to increase the drag, you turn it left to decrease. So clockwise to increase, counterclockwise to decrease. Another thing to think of is lefty-loosey and tighty-righty. All right, so right now you can hear that's the drag system. I don't know if you can hear it. It's pretty heavy. Okay, let's just wind this in. We'll do this again. That's pretty heavy, that drag. It's quite tight. So there's resistance, all right, for that line. Now, if you want to decrease that resistance, you're going to turn your knob here. You're going to turn it to the left or counterclockwise. And there, hear the difference? See how much easier that comes off? All right? So that's what the drag system does. Now the drag system is actually located in the spool, let's get that out of the way, in the spool of the reel. Not down here in the heel, where all the cams and bushings and gears are. That controls the crank and your bail arms. But the actual drag system is located in your spool cap, and it's a series of discs. There's usually about 6 discs there. Now I'm going to put up a diagram here so you can see what I'm talking about, all right? So just take a look here. So here's the diagram, and you can see the discs, and you can see the bearings, and that's what's contained inside your cap. And that's why it's incredibly important not to take the cap apart if you don't know what you're doing, all right? So just leave it as it is. It's all contained in there. It's not going to go anywhere, all right? So you notice there was 6 discs and a couple of bearings, and then of course on top here is the reel, the drag screw. All right, the drag screw is how you adjust the tension to your drag. Now, how that works is you've got these discs, and they face each other. And the tighter you make your drag, okay, these discs will then compress against each other. So there's more friction or there's less friction. So when the drag system is being engaged by something pulling on the line being pulled off the spool, what happens is these discs rotate in opposite directions. Okay? So the heavier the drag, the more resistance there is to these discs turning. The lighter the drag, the less resistance. They turn, they rotate around a lot easier. And that basically is what your drag system is. It's just a group of discs, 3 each side, compressed together, and as the line is pulled off or reeled onto the spool, these will control how much tension there is, how heavy is it, okay, as they spin around. Now, the discs can be made of stainless steel, they can be made of Teflon, they can be made of felt, wood. There's usually a couple of different combinations of materials within the drag system itself. The drags come in two different types. You can get a wet drag, which requires some form of lubrication inside the cap. Now, you don't have to really worry about that because it's lubricated inside the cap. Or it's a dry drag system and doesn't require any form of lubrication because they're probably using something like Teflon, so they've got natural, they can slip and slide and move. They don't have that resistance. There's not any friction. So your lubrication is to decrease the friction, right? And with the Teflon, you don't need that lubrication. So wet drag or dry drag, again, that's something you're going to have to determine yourself what you want to use and find out from which manufacturer does what. If you're just recreational fishing off the end of the dock, don't worry about it. Just, most of them, I think, the cheaper reels are wet drags, okay? So that basically is your drag system, okay? The series of discs that compress or decompress in order to increase or decrease tension on your, for your fishing line as you're using your reel. All right? So I hope that gives you a basic idea. Now, one thing I'm just going to mention to you on the spinning reel, you have what's called the anti-reverse, which is usually a button that's located here on the heel here. Just so I did mention in another video, what you might want to consider is when this is on, your drag system is engaged, all right? If you take this off, your drag system is disengaged, and also this will allow this handle to rotate freely. And that's actually why drag systems were introduced into reels, because, back in the old days, reels didn't have drag systems. They were a one-to-one system where, one complete revolution of the handle was a complete revolution of the reel itself, the spool itself. If a fish got hold of the line and took off on it, the handle would just do this. And that's where they got the term knuckle busters, because trying to stop it, you'd end up banging up your fingers and your hands. So the drag system and the gearing allows that the spool to be disengaged from the handle. And then you can control how much tension you need in order to retrieve the fish or whatever it is, retrieving or allowing the fish to swim, whatever. All right, so the anti-reverse will disengage the drag, but it also disengages the handle gear, so it will spin freely. So just keep that in mind if you do decide to disengage it, okay? I would just leave it where it is, just tighten or loosen it depending on your circumstances until you get used to fishing with that type of system. All right, so that's your drag system. It's just a series of discs inside the cap. Don't take it apart. If you don't know what you're doing, do not take it apart. Series of discs inside a cap that rotate opposite each other. The tighter the drag, the more resistance. The looser the drag, the less resistance. And that's what your drag system is for a spinning reel, okay? So I hope I cleared up a few things for you. Sun's coming out, but still can't go fishing today. Anyway, I want to thank you for subscribing to my channel. Give it a like, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button, all right? And once again, this is Sharon for Fishing Tales and Other Lies. I just want to say thank you and tight lines.